Hello, lovely souls. Welcome to the Awakening to Your Soul Self podcast. I'm Christina Larero, a certified angel messenger and angel Reiki master teacher. My spiritual journey began in the spring of 2022 when my spirit team nudged me to listen to the amazing Angels and Awakening podcast by Jessica Jante. Since then, I've been learning to use my spiritual gifts and growing increasingly curious about spirituality and the various healing modalities. I'm so excited for you to join me on this special journey as we dive into spirituality and healing while exchanging our wisdom and profound insights with other remarkable healers. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, get cozy, and let's embark on the spiritual journey together. Hey there, it's Christina the Angel Messenger here. I just wanted to remind you to stay connected with me for all the latest updates and angel messages. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Christina Angel Messenger. Remember, that's Christina. If you're interested in an angel Reiki session, you can book one virtually or in person through my website at www.christinaangelmessenger.com. Remember, that's Christina angelmessenger.com. Stay tuned for more uplifting, insightful content on this podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, lovely souls. Welcome back to the Awakening to Your Soul Self podcast. I'm so excited for this episode. I have Jessica here. She is a neurosomatic transformation coach. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we're going to dive in to a few topics because if you've never heard of neurosomatic transformation coach, we're going to go into each part of it and what that represents. So let's start with who are you and what do you do?
So my name is Jessica, like you said. I'm actually a nurse by background. So I've been a nurse for about 20 years. Actually, it was 20 years in May. And I love that. I feel like that was my sole passion, my sole purpose for a very long time. But it started before 3 years ago, before I quit my job. But 3 years ago, I ended up leaving the healthcare system in pursuit of what really truly sets my soul on fire. And so backing it up a little bit, I worked in ICU. That was my primary focus. And then I did work in a different department as well. But it's this constant going and doing. And really, I was really burnt out, very overwhelmed, didn't have a lot of resources, just for all of the constant fast pace and the death and just all the different things that you get.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I had 2 small children, I had a husband, and it was just a lot. There was just a constant going. And what I've now realized is that throughout, I ended up leaving the ICU. I went to a department called interventional radiology. And after leaving and going there, I really feel like that was the start of like a misalignment where I was like, okay, this isn't exactly what I want to do. My passion was ICU, but just working the long shifts and everything, like there was just shifts that needed to happen. And so try to make the long story short here, but I feel like at that point I started this misalignment. When I say misalignment, I mean my body, my mind, and my soul were literally all at war with each other. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I was meant for more. I knew what I was doing was not exactly what I was meant to do anymore, but I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know what else to do. I carried the insurance, I carried the benefits, I had a stable job, I made good money. And so, you've got these expectations, that you put on yourself and also that you feel like others put on you, societal and different things like, okay, I'm a nurse, I became a nurse, this is what I have to be for my whole life. And so I need to stay doing this. And I ended up, just a long story short, COVID came in, it just already being burnt out. And then that on top of it, I just knew I wasn't where I needed to be. And so I ended up leaving the hospital, and it was the hardest decision I've ever had to make. It was super, super hard to make that decision because I didn't have anything to back me up. I had nothing behind me. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But my husband had kind of given me this permission, like, you just need to leave. Like, you are miserable. There was one day where he's like, I don't like to be around you. The kids don't want to be around you. You're just miserable. And that was a huge wake-up call for me. Like,
Yeah.
these are the people I'm coming home to, and they're getting the worst pieces of me because I'm just burnt out. And like, you can't show that when you're at work. You have to have it all put together. And
Right. Yeah.
and so that was a really big wake-up call. And so he was basically like, you just need to leave, quit your job. Like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So the last 3 years have been me just really trying to figure it out. So I became a coach and a nurse coach first. I found a program and it really spoke to me. So I was like, all right. I think it was one of those things where I was trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do, and a Facebook ad popped up like they do. And I
Yeah,
was
of
like,
course.
okay, here, this is what. So I was like, okay, this is speaking to me. I need to do this. And then I ended up just hiring a coach of my own. And through that deep reflective process of her being like, well, who are you? Because I was in this almost identity crisis. So I left this job and now I'm like, well, who am I outside of being a nurse? Who am I? And these are questions that I had never really asked myself. Like I grew up, I was like the good girl. I always did everything everybody told me I
Yeah.
needed to do. I, got married. I went to school. I became a nurse. I got married. I had kids, and I had everything except for the
Yeah.
work defense, basically. I had it all put together on the outside. So if someone on the outside would be like, well, why are you miserable? Like I would feel bad. Like I shouldn't be miserable. I have everything that I need, but my soul was just, it was not feeling fulfilled. And so, yeah, I ended up through that coach, she really challenged me to really look inside myself, like, who are you and how do you want to show up in the world, and who do you want to be? Like, you have this time in this space, like really lean into that. And so that's what the last 2 years have been, me really leaning into, who am I? How do I want to show up in this world? What am I here to do, and how am I here to serve? And it's always been in helping people, in helping, in healing. I think that's where I truly,
Yeah.
I feel like deep down I am like this deep spiritual medicine woman, and it's just really bringing that alive inside of myself. And so I say breathwork found me through another coach and just other different things, and it was really like a coming home to my body. And when I say that, it was like, when I say that, people are like, well, what does that mean? It's like, I don't know how else to describe it, except that like when I was there and doing it, I was like, I have never felt safety in my body. I've never felt this place where I can be with myself, and I felt like this is what I need
Yeah.
to do, and this is who I am. And so I kind of took off with that. I'm like, all right, I feel like I want to bring this to the world. I want to show people what breathwork is. I want to teach it. I want to embody it. And so I've just been kind of building and learning as I've been going. And yeah, so right now I'm a coach. Like you said, I'm a neurosomatic coach. So when we say neurosomatic, people are like, oh, what does that even mean? So
Hmm.
neuro is the brain. And so like
Yeah.
mindset, brain, and all of that. And then you have the body. So soma is the body. So it's neurosomatic. So mind and body coaching. So what I really try to do is, yes, we do work on the mindset when I am coaching you, but we also work on the body. I feel like body-based healing is so important because there's so much that can happen throughout our life. There's even things that happen in past lives, in that we are given as we are born, that's been passed down from our mom, her mom, generation from generation, all these things that we carry inside of us.
100%.
Traumas, like trauma. I mean, when I say trauma, that word triggers people sometimes. So when I say trauma, it can be, yes, it can be a big thing like death, divorce, move, sexual assault, anything really big, or it can be little t trauma, which is, you weren't loved the way that you needed to be loved, or somebody said
Hmm.
something to you, or a friend made fun of you, or something happened and that stayed stuck in your body. And so our body remembers things. And if you were told when you were younger, like, don't cry, everything's fine, you're fine, but really your body didn't feel like it was, like, that's all stuff that we stuff down and we just keep in our body. And so what I try to do with the coaching that I do, the body-based healing, is really getting to, it's not that you have to go and think about the trauma that happened in your life. It's
Yeah.
about letting your body uncover what it needs to so it can heal. Because when we do stuff all of this trauma down, when we stuff all of these things down, that leads to disease, that leads to illness and sickness in our body because we are not processing what we need to process. We're just shoving it down. So that was a really long-winded answer about who I am, but
But I really loved it because it really shows the audience of where you started and what's your overall purpose. When you first started talking, the first two words I saw were healing the world.
Mm.
And I really think that's beautiful. And, I
Mm.
really believe that you had to hit that nurse path in order to find where you are now. I believe that nothing is a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. And, for me, I found my gifts after COVID as well,
Mm.
where I started to get really burnt out. I'm still doing my job because I have to, pay bills and things, but it's really COVID is almost like no one loves to hear COVID anymore.
Right, right.
But
Yeah.
it was almost like an awakening for a lot of people
Yes.
where people were burnt out. They realized that this is not what they wanted to do anymore, or they needed to switch what they're doing. And the society just always is, like you said, married, kids,
Mhm.
job, done. But it's way bigger than that.
Yeah. 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 I almost say that COVID it's been a blessing in disguise, I think, for a lot of people. Like, yes, it did cause a lot of heartache and different things in different people's lives. But
Yes.
I think it did also make people realize that, like, what I mean, we have such a short time here, on this earth. So, like, what are you doing with your time? Like, if you don't love what you're doing and you're stuck there, like,
Yeah.
you can do something with your life. I think that's the most beautiful thing that it has brought me, is this awareness that you don't have to be stuck in what you're doing. If you feel stuck, not saying that everybody feels stuck in their job, because there's plenty of people who just still love what they do, which is amazing. But I also feel like it did give us this almost like an awakening, like you said, where it's like, if you are not aligned with what you are truly doing, if your soul feels like you need to be doing something else, I feel like it really was this pivotal time for people to be like, okay, wake up. Like, I am made for more than what I'm doing. And how do I
Yeah.
do that now? How do I go forward and do it? And it can be scary. It can be so scary,
100%.
because our body will always choose the unfamiliar, or the familiar hell over the unfamiliar. Maybe it's freedom, maybe it's whatever, but our body will be like, oh, I don't know, that might seem a little scary, so I'm just going to stay over here. Even though it feels super uncomfortable to be here, our body will always choose this chaos over what
Yeah.
it doesn't know, always. So
Always. And you were fortunate enough that your husband was really supportive and he said just quit because, as we all know, after COVID, it was still a very hard time. I mean, it's still a hard time with groceries and gas and everything's inflated, but he also knew that you just needed to get away as well.
mhm. Yeah.
Hey there, it's Christina the Angel Messenger here. I just wanted to remind you to stay connected with me for all the latest updates and angel messages. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Christina Angel Messenger. Remember, that's Christina. If you're interested in an angel Reiki session, you can book one virtually or in person through my website at www.christinaangelmessenger.com. Stay tuned for more uplifting, insightful content on this podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely. I am very, very thankful for that, because I do know there's a lot of people still struggling, and there's a lot of people that don't have the opportunity that I was given. And I think we both come from these backgrounds where we were very much savers. And so we
Mhm.
had a little bit to fall back on, that it was like, okay, I can go and do this. And now, granted, he has like picked up, he does have like a second job, because we do like rental incomes as well. And
Oh, awesome.
so, or like real estate investments, I should say. And so, we have that as well. So that, I mean, it has made my leaving my job and creating this life so much more free and abundant, because we do have, and because we had been so good at saving and so good at, like, staying within our means, that we were able to do this. But yeah.
That's fantastic.
Mhm.
So I'd love to pivot to, I know we dabbled a little bit on the work that you do, the neurosomatic work, but who does it really help, and how did you find this work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So anybody, this can help anybody. Turning off my heater because it got a little warm in here. So I I try to give this to my kids as well. So my kids are 18 and 16. And when I started this work, I've been doing breath work now for about 2 years. So they would have been like 14 and 16.
Mm-hmm.
Those are hard ages to sell kids at, man, especially if they're your own.
Uh-huh.
So, but I say this is for everybody, even children. Like I feel like there's so many people, and I think people our age and teachers and things now that are learning that feeling into your emotions, really being
Mm-hmm.
able and aware to talk about what's going on, which is so beautiful because when I was growing up, that was not something that we talked about. We didn't talk about feelings, we didn't talk about emotions, we didn't, you shoved them down like I talked about before. And so I really feel like this work is for anybody and everybody who is ready to do the deep healing work. And sometimes that can be scary because I've had conversations with people before too, where they're like, oh gosh, so I have to like feel things. And I was like, yeah, that's the whole
Yeah.
point of this. Like you have to feel it to heal it, truly. And it's not that I'm, telling you to go back and relive this trauma. I'm just telling you to allow your body to let what needs to happen. So our body is so wise. Our body knows
Mm-hmm.
exactly what we need. Our body can heal itself if we give it the right environment, the right it's really like the right all the things around us. So what we put into our body, what we put on our body, who we hang out with, what we listen to, what we eat, what we drink, the products we use, like all of it affects our body. And so what you hear, who you surround yourself with as well is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of got around a roundabout way here, but this work really is for anybody. I myself do a lot of work with women. That's just who I've resonated the most with in doing this work. And I love creating sacred sisterhood. Like that's one of my ultimate like dreams and passions
Yeah.
is creating, like I just went on a retreat this last weekend, and just bringing women together to heal, I think is so powerful because we have so much wisdom and so much inside of us that we can share with each other. So if we stop this competing, we're brought up, especially as girls, like
Yeah.
competing against one another. And like I have to look better than you, or I need to dress better than her, or I need to act better. Like there's so much competition, there's so much jealousy, there's so much all of this thing. And so one of the big things that I want to bring to the world also is that we all have different medicine. We are all different people. We all are made in to be our own true authentic self. And when we are that person, nobody can dim your light. Like you have what you have. Like if you and I were sitting here and we both were offering breath work,
Yeah.
people that need you will find you, and the people that need me will find me. And I am happy to promote you and to talk about you, even if we're standing side by side and the people had to pick who they wanted to go to, because I
Yeah.
just know I've done this work now that I just know that we are here for who we're here for, and your people will find you. And it's not a competition. Like if I can promote you and if I can help you shine even more, that's just going to help me shine even more, and that's going to help that person shine even more. Like we all are here to raise the frequency, to just share and all of our knowledge. Like we all have so many gifts to share if we can just share with each other. Like that's what I truly feel like I am here for, is that connectedness, that growth together, this transformation, this deep healing work. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but
I think it did. And spirit always shows me that there's so many different gifts, and there's so many different healing modalities, and there's so many healers because not everybody resonates with the one person. That's why there's so many of us.
yeah,
And
yeah,
because we're all trying to raise the frequency, we can't have one leader raising the whole world. It's impossible.
right. Yeah, 100%.
So with the neurosomatic work, is that strictly breath work, or is there other techniques as well that comes with that?
Yeah, good question. So in my coaching programs, and I'm trying to really bring them all together and almost kind of revamp them a little bit, because I think as I go deeper into the work, new things come up and it's like, okay, I don't want to do it that way anymore. Like, I don't want to just do a breathwork session with you. Like, I want to be in a sacred container where we spend 3 months together. And yes, maybe we do breathwork, but maybe we also do Kundalini, which is another piece of work that I do, which is your Kundalini energy is your divine Shakti, this divine feminine energy. And we all have it inside of us, male or female. It is just the feminine energy inside of us. But a lot of times it lays dormant because we don't know how to use this energy. And sometimes when I say energy, people get a little weird, but there's energy all around us. Everything is energy.
Yeah.
Even, a little kid, when you're like, oh gosh, they got so much energy. It's funny when we say that about like a little kid jumping around and having so much energy. But when you talk about energy in the sense of the work that you do, people get a little bit like, oh, I don't know, what is that? That's weird. So I like to caveat that like energy is everything, in everywhere. And so this Kundalini energy. So I use Kundalini, the practice of Kundalini, and there's
Yeah.
Kriyas and mudras and different things like that that go with the Kundalini. So I try to bring all of that into my coaching space. Also the somatic work. So that's going into the body and maybe asking the body what it needs. So getting you quiet, using a little bit of the breath work to have you drop into your body. And when I say that, I mean we're so often outside of our body. We ask everybody else for opinions. We are, social media is at our fingertips. So we're constantly, listening to things and getting feedback from all these other sources. But when we can get quiet with our body, when we can get quiet with ourselves, our body can speak to us. And it's amazing when you truly get to the point where you allow your body to speak to you, because your body can tell you what it needs if you get quiet enough. But getting quiet is the hard part. And for me, I mean, if I would have talked about this 3 years ago, I couldn't even meditate. So I'm just telling you,
100%.
it
Yeah,
can
me too.
happen. It can happen for anybody. So if you're sitting here and you're like, oh my gosh, that could never be me. Trust me, I was right there. I was right there. I was a nurse
Yep.
working in the Western medicine. We took a pill every time something, you got a headache, you take a pill. Like that's just how I grew up. And now learning that there's so many different ways of healing, there's so many different modalities that we can heal our body. And so for me, the biggest one that has helped me is this body-based work. And so whatever you need in the session, I try to create like a 3-month or 6-month or a year-long container with people to really do the deep dive in the work. So it's the mindset, it's talking through, it's coaching, but it's also really getting to the body level too. Like, what does your body need? Like some days, like I'll come to the session, I'll be like, what do you need today? Do you just need to talk? Do you need to, an accountability partner? Do you need to go through what's happening in your life? Or do you need to go into the body? Do we need to breathe it out in breath work? Do we need to do a little activation session with some Kundalini? Do we need to go into the body and just let the body speak? And so sometimes that's just, you and I could be sitting here. I just have you drop in with a little breath, and then we just ask your body what it needs. Like, and a lot of people, like for me, I don't hear auditory things. So when I say that, having your body speak to you, it's literally like maybe a pain will come in on your shoulder and you're like, oh gosh, what is that? Well, okay, does it need to move? Like, what does it need? Breathe into it and just see what comes up. Like, allow it just to be there. But we have to get quiet enough in order to do that. And so that's the kind of containers that I create, is to be able to do this work on a deep level, but really getting quiet with the body. So,
I love that you brought that up, because recently I've been asking my body what it wants. I hear more auditory, so I'll actually hear it, but I love what you said of feeling it, because I don't always feel. And I think even for other people that don't see or feel, they could get a vision, they could, see it. And it takes practice. I mean, you don't get the answers as quick as you think. It's not like a conversation. I just want to throw that in there, that it's not just like, yes, you're having a conversation with your body, but it's like meditation. It's like anything you do, like learning to read. It takes practice.
yes.
So once you learn how to do it, then it becomes easier. and easier. And then it doesn't take as long to do a meditation or to do that breath work to find out what's wrong with the body or what it wants or needs.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily what's wrong with it, but what it just needs.
Yes, I love that because I am not a visual. I don't get visions and I don't really hear things, but I feel things. But you're right, like different people will see colors or people will be like, I feel like there's an animal that's coming to me, or like, or I don't
Mhm.
know, just all sorts of things. So it can be your body can speak to you in many ways. It doesn't have to be auditory, it doesn't have to be visual, it could be feeling, it could be any of the things. So but yeah, it's getting to that point where you can hear it, which does take practice. And I love that you said that as well, because I try to say this to people when they're doing this work, that it's like going to the gym, or let's say you're wanting to train for a marathon, or you're going to be in this bodybuilding competition, or you're going to be, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to lose 30 pounds, whatever it is, you're going to set yourself up a plan. You're going to, like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 4 days this week, or I'm going to run 5 days this week, or whatever it is. Like, you're going to come up with a plan and you're going to do it, and you're going to be consistent, and you're going to keep doing it. And that's how this work is as well. Same with meditation or breath work, or any of these healing modalities. It's not just going to be a one time and now I'm fixed. Like, it's a practice. It's continuing to do it, because like we just talked about a little bit ago, like I couldn't meditate when I was a nurse and someone told me to meditate. I was like, they're crazy. I can't sit here with my thoughts for more than 2 minutes. And everything is coming in like crazy. And what a little boy that on the playground said to me in third grade, like just the weird
Mhm.
stuff that pops up in your mind. You're like, where did this even come from? So just knowing that, like, everybody starts somewhere. Like, I started somewhere, you started somewhere, like we all start
Yeah.
somewhere. I didn't just it this just didn't happen overnight. Like, it is a practice. It's taken me, especially since I started breathwork was 2 years ago. It's been 2 years of me doing breathwork routinely to feel like now I'm in this place where I can drop into my body. Like, I just had a breathwork session with someone the other day. We were in the breathwork, and I think it was not even 2 3 minutes, and I was already like just dropped in. I could feel into my body so much.
Mhm.
It's just, I'm like, wow, I've come so far from when I would start my breathwork journey, a whole
Yeah.
60-minute session. And a lot of times I'd be like, oh my gosh, when is this going to be done? Are we almost done yet? Like, all these thoughts come in. And now
Yes.
I'm to this place where it's like, my body craves it. Like, my body just
Yeah.
wants this deep connection with myself, this
Mm.
quietness. So it's like, one more thing to like caveat here is that our bodies are, especially if you've been in this go, 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 we've got our sympathetic, which is this fight or flight response that our body
Yeah.
does, or we have the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. And a lot of times we live in this sympathetic, this fight or flight, because we are constantly going, we are looking for the next thing that's going to like
Yep.
come up or that we're going to have to deal with. And we've got 5,000 fires to put out. And if you are a mom and you've got all your kids stuff to do, or if you're in a corporate job, you've got all these deadlines. Like, there's just so
Huh?
many things that we are inundated with on a daily basis. So we live in this sympathetic fight or flight. So our body is so used to the chaos that when we try to sit and meditate or breathe, our mind starts going like, oh, you should be doing something. You should get up and go. You
100%.
should go. Because our body's like, wait, this doesn't feel safe. Sitting still doesn't feel safe to our nervous system. And so it looks for the chaos. It's like, okay, let's create something here because this doesn't feel great. I don't know what to do with this quietness. And so it is becoming this practice of doing it over and over and over again so that your body can get used to, okay, resting is safe. Like, we are okay. It's okay just to breathe. It's okay just to
Yeah.
be here for a moment. Because I don't know if you were brought up this way, but like, when I was younger, if we just sat still, like, you were being lazy. Like, that was a big thing. Like, you can't
Mm.
be lazy. You got to constantly be
Yeah.
doing something or going somewhere. Or even when I worked in the hospital too, it was like you were just constantly going, like, who can I help next? Where do I go next? What do I got to do? Like, our body just isn't used to, in our society, we weren't brought up to lean into the stillness and lean into the rest. So,
Yes. 100%. 100%. And that's the way we grew up. That society is slowly shifting now, but it's definitely like I can definitely tell a difference. Like when I'm in my full-time job, I'm always go, 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 go. And then I come home and I'm like, I'm so tired. And my body's like, it's because you didn't stop at all.
Yeah.
And now it's harder for me to like fully like relax and slow down. So, you know, I try like during lunch, I try to like take a couple deep breaths and just like recenter myself. And I just want to throw that out for the audience that sometimes if you just do a moment,
Mm-hmm.
that is part of the practice.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, now I can do like a half hour meditation, but when I first started, I only searched for 1 minute ones, no
Mhm.
lie,
Yeah.
because I was like, I can't shut off my brain.
Yep.
And, you know, depending on the person, for me, I didn't like to be in complete silence. So I found high vibrational music. I found guided meditations.
Mhm.
And especially that I'm so auditory, I think that's why I gravitate towards that more. For other people, you got to find what works for you. Is it holding something? Is it, putting a blanket around you to feel that comfort? Is it doing it with somebody guided or just music? So we're just all so different. So whatever Jessica and I are saying, just take what resonates with you and try it out. If it doesn't work out, try something different. It's definitely a play thing. Just remind yourself, like when you were a kid, you had all these sports, or you didn't do sports, you did, arts and crafty stuff or something different. Bring yourself back to that and just remember there's so many different options. That's why there's so many different healing modalities out there.
Yeah. So true. Because yes, while breath work is something that I preach because I love it, it's also not for everybody. Like you need to find what's best for you and what works for you. So 100%. And like I said, I couldn't do like meditation for me is just not. I love when I can do the breath and I can focus on the breath. And I think that's why breath work for me was so impactful because it gave me something to focus on, my breath, but
Hmm.
also the music. And so I think having that both together was really beautiful for me. But there's so many healing modalities, so many. And I'm just learning. I mean, I've just started scratching the surface, I feel, because like I said, before 3 years ago, I didn't even really know there was other ways to heal your body besides just going to the doctor. So yeah, it's like there's so much to learn. So just taking little bits at a time would be is huge. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know that we talked about a little bit about breath work. Should we go a little bit deeper into breath work and maybe some exercises that some people could take with them after the episode?
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite to just drop in and to just, even if it's just like you said, 30 seconds or a minute, let's say maybe you are in drop off line for your kids for school, or you get to the grocery store and you're like, oh, I just need a minute. Like just taking a minute and sitting with your eyes closed. I think it's really important to do breath work with your eyes closed because otherwise you are looking for everything to distract you and then you're not being in your body. And so that's the one thing that I will say is really important is when you go inward is really closing your eyes and not worrying about the outside world, really
Mhm.
focusing on yourself and letting everything else go and just inhaling through the nose and exhaling out the mouth. Such a beautiful practice, so simple. And that's why I think people think breath work is silly sometimes, or that it wouldn't work because like, well, it's just you're just breathing. But truly we are doing like we're intentionally breathing, and that's what we're doing
Yeah.
with breath work. We are intentionally moving because when we do breath work, it's not just our breath, we are moving energy as well. So when we
Yeah.
breathe in, even if you want to think of, I love like setting an intention before I do some breath work, like, okay, I'm just looking for some peace, I'm just looking for some stillness, I'm looking for some calmness, I want to connect to my body, or I'm looking to let something go. Just even
Mhm.
thinking about a thought and then breathing with it. If it's to let something go, really focusing on your exhale, because our exhale is so great for releasing anything negative in your body. If you ever think about like, if you've ever been like really stressed and you're just like, and you just take a
Yeah.
big exhale, just even that can let your body can feel so much better. So even just that inhale and the exhale, if you can sit there and do it for 30 seconds to a minute, so powerful. But I think we take it for granted because it's something that's so simple, but really, and it's free. It's literally free. All you got to do is breathe in and breathe out. Maybe put on some music that you love just to let you settle in just a little more. I think is so impactful. That's what I do if I only have a couple minutes. I just put on a song that I just love, and I just breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth. And you just keep that cycle of breath going. It's that inhale, exhale. Not, you're not holding it. You're just constantly in and out. Because I think that's another thing too, is people hold their breath and they don't even realize it a lot of times, especially when you start doing the breath work. You're like, oh gosh, I think maybe I've been holding my breath. Or we don't actually take full deep breaths into our body because of how we sit. Like, how many people sit over a computer all day? Or we take our cell phones, and our cell phones, we're our heads down, we're on our cell phone. Like, we're not utilizing our full lung capacity because we are sitting hunched over. So even just that. Another thing, breathing into your belly. So this one is a little harder for people, especially because somewhere along the way, we forgot how to breathe into our belly. So if you've seen a little baby after they've been born, their little belly is like up and down, super fast. And then I don't know, I've looked up research and I cannot find anything. So I don't know at what age we lose that or we don't breathe into our belly well. But if you breathe into your belly, so it's just taking a breath, and even if you can put your hand on your chest and on your belly and just try to feel into it, but just breathe into your belly. And it's almost like your hand is pushing your belly away as you are breathing. And then filling your whole lung space up too. So now we're utilizing our full lung capacity. Now you're using your diaphragm, you're getting into the base of your lungs, which we sometimes don't use. So if we're not expanding that muscle, it's not being used. It's just going to stay. It's just going to atrophy. It's not going to do anything. So if we can learn to breathe into our belly, like that's something, if you want to try it at home, even if you're sitting at your desk, just for, a couple minutes every day, just be like, okay, let me try breathing into my belly, seeing if I can do that. Like that was one of my first things that I really tried to lean into when I was doing breath work. And then breathing through your nose. So we have little hairs in our nose that are really important to prevent bacteria, infections, things getting into your body. So if you breathe through your mouth, you're breathing all of that in. There's no filter. So breathing your nose, there's actually this really great book. I think it's just called Breathe by James Nestor. He does a lot of not surveys, like I'm forgetting the word that he does, but he has people and he brings them all in and he does like trials on them. And he will have them breathe through their nose, or then he has people like breathe through their mouth. And he really showed, and there were studies done, that breathing through your nose has really impacted people's physical health. Like when they started breathing through their nose instead. So if you've seen mouth tape, that's like a thing that's kind of going around, or like a chin strap to keep your mouth closed at night when you sleep. Super powerful. The one guy in the book actually reversed his sleep apnea and reversed his high blood pressure. Like there's so many different things he was able to heal in his body because he just started breathing through his nose instead of his mouth. So it's simple things like this that we just don't know about. And now that I do know about them, I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? Why were we not taught this? Like I even went to nursing school. And I'm like, why were we not taught to breathe through our nose? Why are we not taught to breathe into our belly? Why are we not taught just to sit and breathe? And so those, I think, are like the biggest takeaways for me that you could start implementing in your life right now that would be super beneficial. There's also one other like a breath pattern. It's called the box breath. And they use this in NASA when they are training their like people that are going to go to space or whatever they're doing, because you have to be prepared for high stress. If something goes wrong, you have to be able to breathe out of it so that you can keep yourself in this regulated state. And so the box breath it's literally just creating a box. So you start with your inhale and you count to 4 while you're drawing your line up. So it's inhaling for 2, 3, 4 while you're drawing this box. And then you're holding for 4 while you draw the line across the box. And then you exhale for 4 while you are drawing down the box. And then you hold for 4 to complete the box. So you're creating this box shape. So you're thinking about the box, you're thinking about creating it, you're thinking about your breath, and then you're counting all at the same time. So it's a really great tool to get you out of your mind. Like if you are panicky, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I just need to regulate here, I'm just so out of control. If you can find something that you can count, like you're counting, you're visualizing while you're doing it, and you're breathing into it at the same time, super, super powerful to get you out of that like activated state.
Yeah, and that's a big one for a lot of people with anxiety is to really the visual and focusing on something different. Since COVID, I've always had my anxiety is always heightened, so breathing was the first thing that really got me past that. And the one I love the most is breathing in the belly, I have to say,
Yeah.
is because then I focus on the belly going up and the lungs expanding.
Yeah.
It's another visual thing of mine that keeps me going and just calming down. Um, and then you really learn like how big your lungs are. We're just so used to doing these small breaths all day
Yeah.
that when I sit down and I do this, I was like, whoa, my lungs are actually pretty big.
Yeah. I mean, he even did capacity, like lung capacity in this book that I was telling you about. I think it's called like the velocity or something in your lungs. Um, he has it all in there, but the capacity of the people that were in the study, I think that's the word I was looking for, was study, the capacity that they had prior to doing these exercises and then after was, I mean, that was enough in and of itself to be like, wow, like just practicing using your breath is so beneficial to your body, to your healing, and not just your breath, but like the fact when we sit and allow ourselves the stillness where we activate our parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest nervous system that most of us only use when we're sleeping because that's the only time that we're actually resting.
Yeah.
And for some people, they can't even do that. So,
Mhm.
you know, if you've ever gotten cold and people are like, oh, you just need to rest. Well, there's a reason that people say that is because when you rest, your body can heal. So when we
Yeah.
get into these patterns of trying to allow our body to be still, I call it the power of the pause. When you take that power of the pause, you're allowing your body to heal. You're giving your body this time and space to just take some moments to heal. And if you think about, like, let's say you have a spot that's been really bothering you. So you're like, okay, I'm just going to sit here for a minute. I'm going to focus on that spot. I'm going to breathe into it. So now our thoughts are going there. So our blood is flowing there now because where our thoughts go, that's where our blood flows. And now our breath is flowing there because we're thinking about that. Our blood is flowing there. Our breath is flowing there. So if we just take that time to focus on our body, we can heal parts of our body just by being still and resting. Like it's so beautiful. And there's so much science behind it. So it's not that what I'm doing here, because at first when I started doing this work, especially in my community and people close to me, it was like, you're going crazy. This is like going
Yeah.
off the deep end here. But really there's so much science behind it. It's not just this crazy modality that people are just making up all of a sudden. It's true work of the body that we just, I think, forgot. I think we've gotten so busy. Technology has become such a thing that we've
Yeah.
forgotten the deep ancient practices that have been so beneficial to our ancestors before us. And so if we can just lean into that a little bit, like there's so much beauty there if we are open to it.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up the body needs rest. Because the society is so go, 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 there are days, especially on the weekends, because I've worked a whole week where my like Saturday is just my rest day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was mostly Sunday, but recently it's been more Saturday. And I just allow myself to rest. Don't do any to-do lists. I'm a very big to-do list person, and I'm just like, nope. My body just needs rest. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a rest day. And I feel like some people just need to hear that,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to have an agenda every single day. A
Yes.
rest day is okay, and your body just needs it. And your body's going to thank you for it later.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're one of the and allow for the rest. I mean, if you go to Europe, they literally have like nap times. They have tea times. They
Yeah.
have nap times. Like they get it. They know that being high, go, go, go all the time is not productive all the time. Like sometimes the rest is more productive than the doing and going. Like
Yeah.
sometimes just being is super productive because you could sit and be like, okay, I've got this project I need to do. And so you're like trying to cram it all in, but your brain is like overwhelmed with all the 5,000 other things you need to do. And so this could take you 5 hours to do. But if you allowed yourself to sit and rest and be with your breath for a little bit, sometimes it can drop in like the snap of a finger and you could have that thing done in 20 minutes. But
Yeah.
we have to allow ourselves that rest first, which sometimes seems counterproductive, but truly it really is productive, but we just have to allow ourselves to lean into that. So yeah.
Yeah. And what Spirit's bringing through is that if stillness doesn't appeal to you, but you like the breath work part, you could do a walking meditation
Yeah.
where whatever step you take, I don't remember if it's a breath in or a breath out, but there's science saying whatever foot you put down is supposed to be a certain breath in or out.
Okay.
I have to look
When
that
we do
up.
Kundalini, we inhale to the left and we exhale to the right. So I'm wondering if that could be it.
Oh,
I don't know.
maybe. Yeah. So that's actually a perfect segue into Kundalini. Can you just talk a little bit about that before we wrap up the episode?
Yeah. So I did briefly mention like the Kundalini energy inside of you is this Shakti energy or the divine feminine energy.
Yeah.
We all have it. It is sometimes it's just dormant because we haven't utilized, like we're constantly going in our society and we don't pay attention to our body. So
Yeah.
we're not using this energy. So it's just sitting there dormant. And so what I was trained in is Kundalini yoga. And so that is the actual movements and acts of utilizing this Kundalini energy that we have. And so also this like divine feminine energy is like the birth giver. It is like literally the energy that you birth. It is literally the energy of creation. So if you've got like big dreams and desires and projects and things that you want to do, it's not just birthing physical life, it is birthing your dreams, your desires, like all of it. So it is a really powerful energy to tap into. And so the activations and the things that I do is warming up the spine. So we do some movements to warm up the spine to really get the body and the energy flowing so that we can utilize the energy. And then there's different, it's called kriyas, which are kind of where you would put your hands in certain positions. So we've got pressure points on our hands. So if you've ever had like there's acupuncture, there's acupressure, which is and on our hands, there's basically the chakras, different parts of our body. If we just certain like touch and you put pressure on certain parts. So same with Kundalini, like if you touch certain parts and then you do mudras are the hand placements that you put your
Okay.
hands. The Kriya is the act of doing the movement, the meditation, and the mudras all together. And then there's mantras that they will do. So sometimes there's some practices where you just sit in silence. There's some where you are just listening to music, and there's some where you are chanting like a mantra. And so there's a bunch. I mean, if you look up Kundalini, there's so many different practices that you can do. So I have gone through like a traditional training where it's called a sadhana, where you take like 40 days and you get up like at 3:30 in the morning and you do this practice and you do it before the sun comes up. So it's like as you are finishing, the sun is rising and then you start your day. And so
Wow.
in order to learn all about it, like we had to do this 40-day practice just to know like what traditional Kundalini is. So if you've heard of Kundalini, those of you that are listening, a lot of times it's people wearing white. They're all in white and that they're very strict on their practices. My take on it is a little more modern because I feel like we are living in a more modern era. And for me, it just didn't work. Like always getting up at 3:30 in the morning, like that just is not for me. So I do it a little later in the day, and sometimes I don't do it until the end of the day. And there are some days that I don't do it at all, but it is really great to do the practices, every day, obviously. There's
Right.
some, they say, like, if you're going to practice a Kriya, like do it for 40 days because it is really great. I mean, there's all sorts of different ones, one for releasing anger, one for releasing fear. One of my favorites is overcoming limitations, and they're just super, super great at helping you release stuck and stored energy in the body, releasing so that you can bring forth this energy for creation. So it's just a really beautiful practice, and I love bringing it in, but then putting my twist on it, because everything that I do,
Yeah.
I feel like in order for me to teach it to people, it has to be mine. It has to be what feels best for me. And there's lots of different people that teach it, all sorts of different ways, but that's just how it resonates for me. So,
That's awesome. And yoga is another good way to use breath work as well. If Kundalini doesn't resonate with you, there are other yoga practices that work with the breath work. That was one of the first healing modalities I dabbled in, was doing yoga at home. I bought, a cheap yoga mat and put on yoga with Adriene on
yes.
YouTube, and that's how that's how I started my practice, especially during COVID where my anxiety was really high. And now learning about Kundalini, I think I might add that to my yoga practice.
Yeah. Yeah. You should definitely try it out. Let me know what you think.
I will.
Yeah.
So I've loved this conversation. I feel like we could go on for another
Yeah.
hour, but I got to wrap it up. So where can people find you? So what are your social media websites and what
Mhm.
offerings do you have?
Yeah. I didn't ask you specifically when this is coming out, but I have a really awesome like passion project that I'm working on right now. It's called the embodiment, and I'm sorry, it's called the Worthiness Project, embodying your worthy, wild, and wealthy self. And it's a free summit.
Ooh,
I know it's like super, super amazing. It's a free summit that is on November 12, 13, and 14. So, and even
okay.
if you get this after the recording is done, you can always pop back and try to check it out. Um, but yeah, it's just 3 days full of like amazing speakers. And so that's like a big thing that I'm working on right now. But I have a website. It's www.jessicajante, which is my name.com. And then I'm on social media. Facebook and Instagram are the ones that I use the most. And those are just my name, Jessica Jante. That's where you can find me on all the things, basically. So yeah.
And she also has an amazing podcast as well. I want to throw that in there.
Yes, absolutely. I do. It's called Soul Deep with Jessica Jante. So thank you for reminding me of that. Um, it's been newer, so I have like 14 episodes out, I think, as of this last week. But that is another passion project of mine, just bringing people on and having really soul deep, like we're doing right now, like these deep conversations about all sorts of different things. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, especially in like the community that I grew up in, like a lot of this stuff wasn't available, and so that's why I'm creating it, is to show people that that there's another way. Like we can have
Yeah.
good deep conversations, we can learn about all these things, and it's just to be open-minded. Like that's the beauty of it. So,
That's fantastic. And I did go on your website before we hopped on, and I did see a couple services in there. What do you offer besides the free passion project that you got going on for November?
yeah. So I do, and this is something that I want to revise just a little bit too, because I feel like right now I still have breath work where you can just do like one-off sessions and stuff on there. But my real goal is to get it where it's just these containers where we're together and we're deep diving for, 3, 6, or 12 months, where we're really going, and you are, it's for anybody. I typically work with women, but I have worked with men before too. But anybody who's really, you're looking just to get out of, like, you're made for more. You're
Yeah.
made for more. But you don't exactly know how to get there. Maybe you feel a little stuck or burnt out. Even if you feel like you're doing what you want to do, we might feel stuck and burnt out, because that happens too, even in our passion
Yeah.
projects. So it's really about finding who you are, what truly lights you up inside, like who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in the world? Finding those pieces inside yourself, those pieces that maybe have gotten lost because of societal conditioning, or because you tried to act a certain way or be a certain person for your parents or your spouse, your siblings, your friends, whatever it is. We sometimes get lost in all of that. And so what I love to do is to help people remember who they were before the world told them who they had to be. And so,
That's a powerful line right there.
yeah.
Just remember who you are. I mean, we don't remember when we came here what our purpose is. That's the whole purpose of
Yeah.
coming to Earth, is really to figure it out.
Yep.
So coming back to yourself is amazing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jessica, so much. Do you have any final words for the audience before we close it out?
Mm. That I can think of. I just want to really thank you for allowing me to be here, for sharing this space, because I think what you are doing is amazing as well. And I would love to have you on my podcast as well. Yeah, just sharing your world with the work, your work with the world is amazing. And I think that's something that I want to share with the listeners is that, we both started somewhere. We both had to start. We both,
Yeah,
had jobs. Like you're still in your job. I was, left mine, but felt like I was stuck for a while. And so if you feel like you have something on your heart that you want to do, like that's meant for you. That's what I tell people a
yeah,
lot of times in breath work. Like if something comes up, your deepest dreams and desires, those oftentimes come up in a breath work session. If those are coming up for you, that means that you're meant to do it. And so, really leaning into those passions, those dreams, and not selling yourself short, not being like, oh no, I couldn't do that. I don't have what it takes, or that's not me. Maybe they can do that, but I can't. I'm here to tell you that you can do it. All you have to do is believe in yourself. Like just take
yeah,
that first step, that next first step, even if it's something small, because you can do anything any dream and desire that you have is yours already. You just have
yeah.
to make the choice to make it happen.
Amazing. I love the way we just close that out. Thank you again, Jessica, so much.
Yeah.
Friends, this episode will be on Monday in December, the first week of December. So you'll already have the free passion project, but can people still go back, and is it going to be like a recording or something that people
And
can go
so
back
that
to?
link you have will still be there, and then they can just purchase it then. So yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, friends, we will see you on Monday. Have a great rest of your day.